But just try to stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty.
Well, I haven't done a video calling out Spectrum News in a while, but that time has come because a lot of the news in Queens has been getting ignored yet again by this TV station. It claims to care about the news, but they just don't seem to care. It's all about COVID, COVID, COVID all the time. You know, it's the never-ending cycle of this TV station. I mean, look, they spent literally almost half their newscast tonight talking about COVID, and it's just annoying. It's like there's so much crime going on, and there was a knife-wielding man who charged the police earlier this morning. Yeah, there's not even a video about it. It's not even a video about it. But they did actually, right before Brother on the Ones at 9:09, they actually did bring up the incident with the knife-wielding man in Brooklyn. But obviously, no reporter was sent. Instead, they sent a reporter over to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Who cares about that? You know? Who really cares? But we're not going to lead off with that, because that can wait. Because there was much more urgency going on in Queens that we'll get to in this video. But I just want to show you the proof that this TV station doesn't even care about Queens. It's like, we're constantly ignored, and again, you know how I feel, and I wish more people would speak up about how Spectrum is just ignoring us in Queens. We're sick and tired of it. We really are at this point. You know, it's a never-ending cycle with this TV station. So this was actually in today's AM New York, and I will read this article. That was in the paper today. This happened in Jamaica, so we will read this. Pair sought for Queens shopping mall shooting that left 3 injured. The NYPD released images Sunday morning of 2 individuals sought for a Queens shopping mall shooting on Saturday afternoon that left 3 people injured. Law enforcement sources said the gunfire happened at about 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, December 18th in the parking lot of the Rochdale Village Shopping Center at 165-02 Baisley Boulevard. And by the way, that's a bad area. So that doesn't surprise me that happened over there. According to authorities, the 3 victims sat inside of a parked vehicle when 2 suspects approached. One of the pair of perpetrators then pulled out a firearm and began blasting the vehicle. In the hail of buckets, police said a 29-year-old man was shot in the head while 2 other men were in the vehicle aged 29 to 31 took bullets to their back. Following the gunfire, police reported the 2 suspects fled inside a 2012 Ford Focus heading towards Brewer Boulevard with the New York license plate KRM 9614. Officers from the 113th Precinct and EMS units responded to the shooting. Paramedics rushed the victims to Jamaica Hospital. There were 3 of them when they were listed in stable condition. City Council member Aderin Adams, who represents the area and is reportedly slated to become the next City Council speaker, said she's been in contact with the police about the shooting. So I'm obviously not going to read this part. But as shown on camera, one of the suspects wore a black fur-lined jacket, a light blue surgical mask, black pants, and black sneakers, while the other perpetrator wore a black jacket, a black face mask, black pants, and white high-top sneakers. So there you go. More of the problems in Queens that just keep getting ignored. I will give NY1 credit. In fact, they spent 2 minutes covering this story in Queens. So this happened at a nightclub. So I'll quickly read this. I don't want to read it from AM New York. An off-duty NYPD officer lieutenant from Brooklyn was shot multiple times in leaving La Bloom nightclub in Queens. This happened at about 3:09 a.m. in the early morning hours of Thursday, December 16th. Preliminary began as a robbery, police said. The officer was approached by several armed individuals in ski masks, attempted to rob him, possibly of jewelry when he was wearing while exiting the club. So last we heard, the officer was at Elmhurst Hospital in stable condition. The suspect shooter was shot in the chest and stomach and is now deceased. Police found a semi-automatic handgun with an extended magazine on him. The suspected shooter had one prior arrest in New York City for gang assault, which is still an active case. Police said they're actively looking for 3 others involved, detectives reviewing cameras in the area. So, this happened on Northern Boulevard between 56th to 58th Street, and that's kind of alarming because that's a very busy area. You have Stop and Shop supermarket in that area, and the Q66 also goes in that area, so I know this area pretty well. But again, they did spend, look at this, they spent 2 minutes covering it. I'll give you the proof. I'm not going to play the video. But they actually did send a reporter, and actually Pat Kiernan covered this live on Mornings on One a couple days ago. So they were acting Queens just because a cop was shot. So we'll get to the breaking news that happened today. So let me find the police and fire segment. We'll find out about that shooting that happened in Brooklyn. Here we go. This is the one. And then, believe it or not, there's another incident that happened in Brooklyn that actually Charlton made me aware of over the weekend. So this morning I first found out about this from Channel 7, and I will say Channel 7 was all over the story this morning. So here's what happened. Suspect killed in Brooklyn police shooting, charged at officers with knife and refused to stop. So obviously if you take a look at the NY1 page, and they just keep refreshing it. Like, I don't know why they keep refreshing it. I mean, there was a major story in Brooklyn today, and they didn't even bother sending a reporter. You know, this TV station. So let's read the AM New York article. Knife-wielding man killed in a Brooklyn police shooting on Monday morning, allegedly charged at the officers after repeatedly refusing to drop his weapon. According to Assistant Chief Michael Kemper, commanding officer of Patrol Bureau Brooklyn South, police wound up opening fire on the now-deceased suspect after making numerous attempts to stop him through non-lethal force, including deploying tasers, which had no effect on the man. Police said the trouble began at 4:10 a.m. on the morning of Monday, December 20th, which was today, when uniformed officers from the 71st Precinct responded to reports of a man armed with a knife and a gun in the area of 1090 Eastern Parkway in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Upon arriving at the scene, Kemper said the officers spotted the male suspect, not identified, carrying a knife in one hand with its other hand concealed in a coat pocket. Kemper told reporters today, officers gave numerous verbal commands for the suspect to drop the knife and showed them his hands. The suspect then ignored the officers' directives and walked eastbound on Eastern Parkway, then walked into the Utica Avenue subway station. The chief said the officers followed the man into the subway station and continued pressing the man to drop the knife. Then they deployed the tasers, hoping to incapacitate the suspect long enough to disarm him and take him into custody. So, the tasers didn't work. And then what happened was, the suspect then exited the train station, walked back onto Eastern Parkway, and the 2 officers were waiting for him. So, obviously, suspect didn't comply. That's obvious. So, where's the part where... Here it is. This is the part I'm looking for. 2 officers fired 10 shots in all. Based on a preliminary investigation, the suspect was hit multiple times in the torso, and the officers immediately rendered aid to him while waiting for paramedics. EMS rushed the suspect to Kings County Hospital, where he died a short time later. Police have yet to determine his identity. Kemper said officers recovered the suspect's knives, which had a 3-inch blade. No gun was found in possession. The officers involved in the shooting were brought to a local hospital for evaluation and were not injured. So, Very, very, very alarming. And again, New York 1 didn't cover this. Just like how they didn't cover what happened on the subway over the weekend. In fact, where's that story in Brooklyn? I'm trying to look for it, because we're going to get to the stuff in Queens. Believe me, we are. Believe me, there's more to get to in Queens. Suspect behind Brooklyn subway shooting fired at a man during struggle stemming from a glance. Here it is. Police released on Sunday a picture of a suspect behind a Brooklyn subway shooting on Saturday afternoon that left a 28-year-old man critically injured. Law enforcement sources said the attack occurred on board a Manhattan-bound aid train approaching the Grant Avenue station in City Line at 3:10 p.m. on Saturday, December 18th. Citing information from witnesses, police said the gunman got into a verbal dispute with the victim over an apparent glance. But by the bad look led to the argument, which quickly escalated into a physical struggle. After the victim punched the suspect in the face, cops said the perpetrator responded by pulling out a firearm and pulling the trigger 3 times. The victim suffered gunshot wounds to his arms, groin, abdomen, and thigh area. The suspect then fled in an unknown direction. Officers in the 75th Precinct and NYPD Transit District 33 responded to the shooting. EMS rushed the victim to Brookdale University Hospital, where he was listed in critical but stable condition. So, there is a suspect. Crime Stoppers released a photo description, believed to be a man in a dark complexion, 30 years old, at 5 feet 5 inches tall, 150 pounds. He was last seen wearing dark colored clothing. So again, I'm going to thank Charlton DeSouza from Passengers United for making me aware of this. He was literally giving me a phone call randomly on Saturday night. I forget what the reason was, but he told me about this. And, this is... Obviously, the subway crime has to be addressed with the new mayor, and I'm going to call him out at the end of the video. Okay, so I'm going to read one more, because I really don't want to go too more into it. But I just want to read this one, because there's a lot more we got to get into. There's a lot more we got to get into, because we're going to talk about a couple of local businesses in Bay Terrace actually planning to shut down. Knife-wielding Queens robber sexually assaulted woman in the elevator. Police released video footage Saturday of the creepy Queens robber who sexually assaulted a woman inside an apartment building elevator on December 17th. The incident occurred at 12:10 p.m. when the suspect followed a 51-year-old woman into a residence in the area of 62nd Drive and 108th Street in Forest Hills. The footage shows the crook, while brandishing a knife, confronting the woman inside the elevator. The victim emptied the contents of a coat pocket and purse onto the elevator floor. And that wasn't enough for the perverted perpetrator. Authorities reported that the suspect searched the victim's body, then pulled down her pants and sexually assaulted her. Police said the victim managed to push the thief out of the elevator without any property being removed. So we do have a video. Suspect then walked down a nearby stairwell and out of the building, fleeing in an unknown direction. The incident was reported to the 112 Precinct. EMS brought the victim to a local hospital for medical evaluation. So we do have a description. So we have a heavy-set man who's bald, medium complexion, believed to be 6 feet tall, between 55 and 60 years old. He was last seen wearing a multicolored gaitered mask, a black hooded sweatshirt, black pants, and black sneakers. So very alarming. In fact, hang on. There was actually one more story I did want to read. Yeah, this is the one I was looking into. Awful accident today that happened in this is technically Richmond Hill. I forgot there was one more I really needed to read because New York 1 should have covered this. So you would think with what happened in Jamaica, what happened on the subway in Brooklyn, and the other shooting today, you would think New York 1 would cover it. This really takes the cake. And I know this area very well. In fact, me and my dad were accidentally in this area when we were going to Jackson Heights in November. Yeah, this is a very dangerous area. In fact, if you're trying to make that left turn onto the eastbound ramp for the Jackie Robinson, that's a very dangerous area to be driving in. Because my grandfather used to live in the Homestead Senior Living Complex. So I know this area very well, unfortunately. And over the years, I used to take this when I went to a friend's house in Howard Beach before the pandemic. So let me read this. This happened on Friday. Police said the motorist was heading westbound, twisting roadway between Forest Park Drive and Metropolitan Avenue just before 10 p.m. in the area of the Jackie Robinson Parkway, when he crashed his 2013 silver Infiniti G30X sedan. Police from the 102nd Precinct in Richmond Hill responded to a 911 call of a motor vehicle collision and discovered a 26-year-old man had failed to properly navigate the roadway and struck a tree. No other vehicles were involved. Sadly, the victim was taken to Jamaica Hospital where he was pronounced dead. The investigation remains ongoing by the Highway Patrol Collision Investigation Squad. Obviously, due to family notification, the identity of the victim is being held. So, obviously, they have to comply with federal HIPAA, so that makes sense. But what doesn't make any sense is the closest hospital is Forest Hills, Northwell. Man, sometimes these ambulance dispatchers, they just... Ugh. So, there is another urgent thing we have to discuss with our quality of life, which NY1 doesn't really want to talk about. And, you know, I'm just very alarmed with these stores closing in Bayside. We'll get into it right now. So I'm just trying to see if I can find it, because I know there's not an article about the CVS on Francis Lewis, but I do have a picture of what happened today. And there's going to be a little bit of a rant coming up about it at the end of this video. But I'm just trying to see if I can find it. Hang on here. Let me just look it up. I'm just trying to see if I can find it. I know the Courier did have a website. Here we go. So the good news is, at least there's going to be a new pizza shop. So I'm glad about that. But this is very alarming. So the landlord of Bay Terrace doesn't want to renew the lease for Jack's Pizza in the Bay Terrace Plaza. So last week it was reported that Jack's Pizza would be going out of business amid a dispute between the restaurant's owners and Cord Meyer. And in fact, Pix11 actually covered this, so I'll give them credit on that. I'll put a link in the video in the description below. You can watch the video of the Pix11 interview of the lady who's going to be losing her business in January. The owner of Jack's Pizza posted a sign outside of the establishment at the shopping center claiming the Cord Meyer CEO Matthew Wallen refused to renew the restaurant's lease, effectively forcing them out of business after decades of being in the plaza. So they've been around since 1971. That's alarming. I've been to this pizza place before with my friend who lives in the other part of Bayside. The part that's south of Union Turnpike, that part. The Holliswood section. That friend of mine. He knows who he is. So this is the sign in front of the store. Since 1972, Jack's is faithfully feeding and serving our community for 50 years. The new CEO, Matt Whitland of Cord Meyer Development Company, has refused to renew the lease for Jack's Pizza, even at the height of the COVID pandemic, throughout which Jack's stayed open. In which, by the way, Jack's Pizza actually delivered food to my staff at Osnum Hall. So that's very alarming. During the worst of COVID last year, I found this out. He's let Cord Meyer Development Company know that Jack's Pizza is an institution that should stay in our community. So there's contact info, and I'll also leave the this article in the description below, because maybe there's a chance that something will happen. Maybe Rose's Pizza won't take over, but still, I mean, this is alarming. Cord Meyer said that the restaurant lease expired in September of last year, and they failed to renew it. So, it'll be disappointing. I don't want to go further along here. But we do know that Rose's Pizza is taking over, so at least there's not going to be a vacancy, so that's good news that there is going to be a pizza shop, especially because you got the movie theater nearby. I mean, where are people supposed to grab lunch? Other than Panera Bread, other than Applebee's, and other than Outback. You can't take away a vital business in this plaza. We already lost the diner a couple years ago. I also want to show you this, because this is very disturbing. So somebody took a video of the Stop and Shop in Bay Terrace, and just look how disgusting this is. Is this acceptable?
The store is still open. The supermarket is still open. Can you believe it?
And look at this part. Look at this part. You tell me how this is acceptable. Alright, first we lose the Stop and Shop in Douglaston, and now this is an insult to injury. Yeah, I bet now the Stop and Shop in College Point's gonna get more credit because of this. Oh, and I wouldn't be surprised if more people from Northeast Queens end up going to the Stop and Shop in New Hyde Park because of this. Wouldn't surprise me. They're gonna probably end up going to Long Island. And then this is really where things get out of hand. Look at this. This is what I encountered today going to the CVS in Auburndale. Look at this. All prescription records have been transferred to 212 Northern Boulevard, right on the corner of Bell. So, that's not a good stop. That's not a good CVS. That's not a good location. I recommend going to the one on Douglaston Parkway. They're much more organized over there. But you get the idea of what's going on. And tomorrow I'm going to be in the area because I have an extra shift at Osnum tomorrow. So obviously I'm going to take a quick video of the new sign outside of Rainview they post out in front. I mean, this is an insult to injury. I mean, this CVS has been here for many years, okay? They've been serving the community for a lot of years, and now the residents at Osnum who get their prescription at the CVS, they're now going to have to go to Rainview, which is the closest one, or they're going to have to figure out another arrangement. I mean, this is alarming, okay? This goes far back as 2007. I mean, I've known the CVS since I was a child, right? So now I'm going to have to figure out how to go to CVS during the week if I need to, because this is the only convenient one right by the nursing home. And now we're going to call out Eric Adams to wrap up this video. So today I go to Flushing, and I'm coming off the 7 train. I have a good day in Midtown, and all of a sudden, guess what I encounter in Flushing? I encounter a homeless person sleeping on the next westbound train, the Hudson Yards. And then when I get to Macy's to use the bathroom, guess what? There's a homeless person coming out of the bathroom. So Eric Adams, when you become the mayor, you need to get these emotionally disturbed people off the street, get them into a shelter, be vocal about this bail reform law that's killing our city right now. So on you, Eric Adams, you have a big responsibility beginning January 1st, and you better take this responsibility very well, because I don't want to see any more homeless people anymore, and you need to address why our economy is getting killed every day. Sorry for ranting, but it had to be done. I'm still sick and tired of NY1 not covering our quality of life, and trust me, I'm not going anywhere. If Pine Power's going to keep doing videos about News 12 Long Island, I'm going to keep doing videos about NY1. So that's it. Thank you for watching.